Thanks a million. And look, I too would like to offer solidarity to the homeowners from Clare, Limerick, Mayo, Sligo and Donegal who are watching today, but didn't feel like they had it in them to make the journey again to Dublin. They fought an incredible battle, and all the while I think it's important to acknowledge that while they're fighting this campaign, they're also living with the stress of not knowing that their house might survive the next storm. And that's an enormous amount of pressure to be living in, because everybody knows that your home is fundamental to stability in your life and to your mental health. And you know, they've taken time off work, they've footed the costs incurred in travelling from across the country to Leinster House, and the only thing they're looking for is fairness. That's all they want, is just fairness, that they invested in a home for them and their families. And due to failures of the state, because let's be honest here, all of this is due to the light touch regulation that we've had forever in this state and has been resisted repeatedly. It seems like we always have to have a crisis before we get changes to the regulation to protect people. But that's all they're looking for, is fairness. And I think it always seems to be the way that there's one law for ordinary citizens and another law for business interests. We'll be debating the Stardust later on today, another example of where vested interests trumped families. But I do think it is simply astounding that we've sat here today and we've listened to government senators who are members of government party, admit that there are still defective blocks being produced. And I think it's unbelievable as well that we haven't heard of how those who are responsible for the existing houses, how the state is not putting every resource available into pursuing those responsible so that they foot the bill for the damage that they've caused. Because it's too often we hear lessons will be learned. It's a phrase that's just thrown out. But what lessons are being learned if defective blocks are still being produced? If those responsible for the existing houses have not been held to account, have not been pursued in the courts. And I'll return to the bill in front of us, though. And I think the first thing to say is the procedure has been shoddy. When citizens of this country walk away from the Houses of Parliament, from Dáil Éireann, in despair and traumatised, then I think everybody has to put their hands up and say that the legislators have failed them. Nobody should walk away from this House in tears when all they're looking for is fairness. And I think there is still an opportunity to undo that damage, Minister, and I think to show maybe that you might have reflected over the weekend and are prepared to listen to the outstanding concerns, because you've spoken to the concerns that were outlined in the letter that was sent by the entire members of the Housing Committee. I don't think you've really addressed the concerns definitively in them. I mean, Senator Cummins himself spoke that some of those concerns are still existing about the foundations. There are people who, when this scheme is set up, who currently have issues with their foundations. They won't be able to access the scheme. There are others around the downsizing of the penalty.
I just correct the record. I didn't state what the Senator has just said. I stated.
No, you stated you spoke to some of these concerns that were in it. You spoke to concern
I can show you my transcript if you want.
You made references to the extensions and that you hoped that they would be part of the review.
That's
but the
not
review
what you
is not
just
for
said
12
a second
months.
ago that I said.
No, what I'm saying is you stood here. You said you had concerns. Some of the concerns that are listed in this letter. So I'm not saying you said that. What I'm saying is that there are people who have existing problems to the foundations of their houses, and they will not be able to access the scheme because the review will be 12 months away.
The Senator is trying to misrepresent.
Yeah, you had your time, okay? I'm saying you did address the concerns that were in this. The concern around downsizing.
No.
You can support our amendments on Wednesday. We look forward to your support.
Yeah, the concerns around downsizing haven't been addressed. There are people who will not have the excess money because of the costs have increased to rebuild their home to the same size as it was. There's no money to be made out of it. All they're asking is that they will then reduce the size of the house so that the money they will get from the state will actually cover the 100% rebuild of their house. That's all they're asking. They're not looking to put any money in their bank. They're literally prepared to downsize their own home so that they won't be out of pocket because they don't have the money. That's the reality. They don't have it. So how are they going to build their house to the exact footprint if they don't have the money? The other issue around the inflation, the SCSI report, which was brought up this morning, the costings go back to January and they won't be reviewed, my understanding is, from 12 months. But look, we can get into the detail of what was contained in the letter from all of the members of the Oireachtas Committee with their concerns around the bill. We can get into that on Wednesday. And I do think there's an opportunity that if the Minister won't accept the amendments, if he won't be prepared to listen to the concerns, because these amendments aren't coming from us. They're not Sinn Féin amendments. These are amendments that are coming from the families, and the families who have done detailed research and have sought legal advice on, and they want those concerns addressed. And if the Minister is not prepared to reflect and take them on board, I would encourage the senators who are from the counties reflected to think very seriously about how you'll vote on Wednesday.
To clarify, Chair, exactly what I said in relation to foundations. I said, gone is the sliding scale, and foundations and other materials are currently being reviewed by the NSAI, and the scheme can be changed by regulations if required. That's what I stated on the record of the House, and I would like that to be clarified.
And Senator,
the record will show what you said.
And that's fine.
Thank you, Chair.
But the review won't take place until 12 months. So if someone has an existing problem with their foundation, they will not be able to access the scheme.
Don't dig a different hole now.
No, we'll see how it goes on Wednesday, John. We'll see where you stand on Wednesday.
Sorry, every senator is entitled to have exactly what they say.
What you do, not what you say.
Senators, please, we have two more
Every
speakers
senator is
who want to
entitled to have
issue.
what they stated on the record
The record will show what you said.
accurately.
Yes,
and that's
the
all.
record will reflect that because it was read out twice. So